give it what you got. Just we can stop for real. Give it what you got. Give it all you got. Keep making it hot. Give it what you got. Keep it making it hot.
Stevie Nicks sang "Thunder Only Happens When It's Raining" on Fleetwood Mac's Dreams from 1976, and this has absolutely nothing to do with our video today. Welcome to Reliving the War Thunder, December 20th, 2000, the Richmond Coliseum in Virginia. We have about 10 people in attendance, about 6 are watching at home, and Ric Flair's invited the cameraman into his limousine so we can talk about tonight's show. This was filmed before he gave him a reach around. We're going to see that tag team battle royal that was mentioned on Nitro, a 6-man tag featuring Kronik and Shane Douglas taking on the MIA, and Scott Steiner will defend his belt tonight in the main event. Rick doesn't say who Scott's opponent's going to be, but come on, it's Glacier. The weird mystery man who's going to face Steiner alongside Jeff Jarrett at WCW Sin is also in attendance. This could also be Glacier, but we just don't know. The show doesn't sound too bad, so let's get started with our opening contest, Jamie Knoble vs Chavo Guerrero. Here comes Jamie, and yes, I know his WCW name spelled with a K, but I refuse to acknowledge it. Jamie Knoble. Chavo confirms he's defending his Cruiserweight belt at Sin against #1 contender Sugar Shane Helms. He also confirms that this match against Jamie Knoble's for the Cruiserweight belt, so well done WCW, mere minutes into the show and you've already thrown all logic out the window. If Sugar Shane's the #1 contender, why is Jamie Knoble now getting a title shot? Also, Chavo says if Knoble beats him tonight and Knoble becomes Cruiserweight champion, that would mean Chavo's the new #1 contender. Mate, I don't think it works like that. In Chavo's mind, losing the Cruiserweight belt right now would put Shane Helms out of the title picture, and he ends his promo by saying, if I don't keep it, you don't get it, in regards to the Cruiserweight Championship. Like, I get we're setting this up so Shane begrudgingly helps out Chavo, but it's stupid and it makes no sense in terms of the absolute fundamental meaning of the term #1 contender. Let's recalibrate a little and just try to enjoy the match. Sweet dropkick from Jamie Knoble. This gets followed up with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and young Jamie then applies an STF. A few pin attempts from Jamie are unsuccessful. Chavo then leaves the ring after Jamie performs a head scissor takedown. And Guerrero's going to think about his next move while wasting some time on the outside. Ginger Ref thinks these two shouldn't fight and instead they should kiss and make up. The boys would rather continue their match and we're going to get more pin attempts from Jamie which are all unsuccessful. All it takes from Chavo's an axe handle across the back to put him in the driver's seat, and Jamie gets kneed right in the bollocks, which our day-walking soulless referee thinks is a-okay. Jamie gets choked out, he takes a dropkick while someone holds up a sign that I can't help but think is directed at me personally. Jamie's now back with a swinging neckbreaker and a backdrop, and man, this match has had no heat whatsoever. We are going through the motions here and it's kinda unexpected from these two. Anyway, Jamie sets the champion up for a superplex and, surprise surprise, here comes Sugar Shane to stop Knoble from performing the move. This in turn allows Chavito to perform a frog splash and a brainbuster, so Chavo retains his championship thanks to help from his upcoming Sin opponent Shane Helms. Hacksaw Jim Duggan gets in the ring while a very loud fan chants "Duggan sucks." Jimbo wants to explain his actions as of late, he wants to explain why he joined Team Canada, and basically the higher ups were going to fire him unless he turned heel. To be fair lad, most people get fired if they don't do what their bosses tell them to do, so suck it up. Duggan talks about the shame he's feeling for turning his back on his country. Our little angry fan at ringside shows no remorse by shouting "You still suck" when Jim brings up his cancer diagnosis. Man. And Duggan carries on by saying he sold his soul and he wants to apologise. He apologises to his dad because old Poppy Duggan really dislikes Canadians, I guess. He apologises to his wife and children because they too aren't very welcoming to our Canadian friends. And Hacksaw apologises to the fans. The way he's getting on here, you'd think he murdered someone. Jim looks up at the sky while saying the fans may not remember Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but he'll sure remember them. And this gets met with our front row tormentor once again shouting "You suck" at poor Hacksaw. This was all unintentionally better than the Chavo vs Jamie Knoble match. Mike Awesome wants Hacksaw to hang around until the end of the show. Awesome thinks Duggan's a great guy and it would be Mike's honour to give Jim a ride home after the event. This means Hacksaw's getting an upgraded extra legroom seat on Mike's 70s shaggin' wagon. After a commercial break, General Rection tells Duggan he heard what Jim said and he forgives Hacksaw for being a dirty turncoat. In the distance, you could hear the fan shouting, "You still suck," at the top of his lungs. Next, we've got a big, dirty, stinking tag team battle royal. The winners of this one get a tag team title shot against the Insiders at WCW Sin. 3 count are here, the Young Dragons are here, we've got the dream team of Ming and Kiwi, lovers of gas station sandwiches, the Bozo brothers. Poor Jamie Knoble has to compete again alongside Evan Courageous, and he's so confused about that match earlier on that he's physically limping to the ring. The Filthy Animals are here, and the Natural Born Thrillers are represented by 2 teams, Jindrak and O'Hare in the Perfect Event. First out is Kaz Hayashi, thanks to Ming. Leia Meow's pretty used to her boys, only lasting about 10 seconds. The Bozo brothers eliminate Jamie Knoble, seeing as he was a pretty easy target. Ming's on a roll as he takes out both members of 3 count. And we've got some shenanigans at ringside as Big Vito shows up to attack Reno. Reno was minding his own business at ringside while watching the match. Johnny the Bull returns here to attack an unsuspecting Mike Sanders, and after this attack the Mamalukes reunite as Johnny and Vito, who looks remarkably like Uncle Fester right here, share a hug outside the ring. I did say I like the Mamalukes, but I think the damage has already been done at this point. Not sure if we can go back to these two being goofy wise guys, but we'll see, I guess. Ronald and Donald got eliminated during a commercial break, so we didn't miss much. Ming and Kiwi have also been eliminated, so we're down to the Natural Born Thrillers 2 teams and the Filthy Animals. The most interesting thing that could happen here is the Thrillers eliminating the Animals first and creating some conflict within the group. And to my surprise, the Animals do get eliminated when Mike Sanders got involved. Instead of the Thrillers fighting one another, they give each other high fives and a beaten up Mike Sanders gets in the ring and he calls for the bell. Scott Armstrong, who dyed his hair with boot polish, wonders why the bell rung, and Mike says it's because we've got our winners. The Natural Born Thrillers are getting a shot at the tag team titles, and Mike explains it can be any combination of these 4 men who faced DDP and Nash at WCW Sin. I was waiting for Ric Flair to show up and force the guys to fight one another, but nope. Remember too, it was Flair who booked this match on Nitro, so why the CEO isn't out here making things right is absolutely beyond me. Primetime Elix Skipper vs Konnan. There is potential here, but if you watch Konnan matches from the early days of the Monday Night War and you compare those matches to his recent work, you'll see a huge difference. He did have injury setbacks, but there's definitely an element of giving up too, I assume. The crowd laugh at K-Dog when he falls from the top rope while trying a springboard arm drag. That other guy was too busy still shouting Duggan sucks. Skipper takes advantage of Konnan's little mishap, and this is what guys in the ring really should do instead of trying the botch move all over again. Konnan comes back with a clothesline. He tries another, but Skipper performs his Matrix counter. This sets Primetime up nicely for a reverse DDT, but Elix isn't out yet. He performs a dropkick, he performs a nice head scissor takedown from the apron. Elix then delivers a spinning back kick which doesn't get him a 3 count, so it's a missile dropkick from Primetime while the audience can be heard chanting boring. Elix evidently took this personally, and so he applied a chin lock while screaming, "Are you not entertained?" Straight shooting Stevie Ray's giving referee Scott Armstrong a real hard time for no reason at all as Konnan fights back while trying a pin or something. The stench of K-Dog's brain fart filled up the Richmond Coliseum right here, and the commentators have given up too. When Elix performs a Magistral Cradle and when Tenay calls the move, Stevie Ray and Schiavone poke fun at Tenay's superior wrestling knowledge. I mean, he called the move correctly and these guys are laughing at him. Elix Skipper shoves his face in Konnan's ass while trying to win the match. K-Dog did want to stay down here, but he has a job to do. It looks like Skipper tried to block the rolling clothesline, but it just made the move look terrible, and Konnan wins the match with a tequila sunrise. Stevie Ray trips over his words and he struggles to say the name of the move, and when Schiavone asks him to say it again, he calls it a tequila cell phone. I legitimately lost brain cells while watching this match. They're scattered all over the floor and I'm not sure if I can get them back. Bam Bigelow vs Crowbar. Anything has to be better than Konnan vs Elix Skipper, and surprisingly this one is not a hardcore match. You know, I wanted to cover this week's Thunder and next week's Thunder just so we were all up to date on WCW while Nitro was off the air, but by God, nothing of note's happened and we're already halfway through this show. Where's Glacier? Where's the Mystery Man? All we've had is a confusing cruiserweight title match, a battle royal without a proper winner, and a match where Konnan's body was in the ring but his mind was on Neptune. Big corner splash from Bigelow that seems to aggravate his knee a little. Bam Bam favours the knee again when he performs a bail, but he gets it together and he drops Crowbar from the vertical suplex position. Mr. Barr smells blood and he goes after the bad knee. He performs a dropkick, he focuses on the body part at the ropes. A chop block brings the big man down, but when Crowbar tries some mat work, he gets pushed out of the ring. We go outside where Crowbar gets launched into the guardrail. We're moving in slow motion here, ladies and gents, so Daphne runs over to speed things up a little. Her irate gives Crowbar a small reprieve and the Beast from the East takes another chop block. Crowbar gets back in the ring only so he can perform a baseball slide. He then pulls off his apron splash, which he calls the leap of faith. Bigelow seems to be in bad shape in the ring as Crowbar goes upstairs, but Ming shows up to attack Crowbar, seeing as Crowbar attacked the Minger on Nitro. Bigelow gets a pinfall victory after the greetings from Asbury Park, and that's more time on this planet I'm never getting back. Bigelow and Crowbar are awesome, this match was not. Oh, thank God, something to get excited about. Screaming Norman Smiley's here at Thunder, but he's not in his wrestling gear. The commentators don't even know why Norman's here and we all assume he's gonna cut a promo. But then Goldberg's music plays and yep, we've got Smiley versus Billy Boy. I guess they want to make it look like a surprise match or something, seeing as Norman isn't in his gear, but there's always a possibility that he just forgot his gear too. He didn't get in the ring during Nitro before this taping. It also kinda makes Goldberg look like a knob, seeing as he has to beat people up who aren't prepared for his devastating moves, like this completely unnecessary shove right here. But our hero shows no fear and he proceeds to throw a few forearms into Billy Boy, which unfortunately have no effect at all. Norman counters a gorilla press attempt and for some reason he takes a back bump. You can see Goldberg smile when he notices what Norman did, but there's no time for fun and games. Spear, jackhammer, the mighty Norman Smiley's just another number in Goldberg's new win streak, but two guys determined to end that streak appear on the screen, totally buffed. Lex makes an announcement here. At Sin, it's going to be Goldberg and Dwayne Bruce versus Totally Buffed, and if Goldberg and Sarge lose, both guys are going to get fired. I'm just thinking here, why hasn't CEO Ric Flair made an amendment to this whole thing where Goldberg's career ends when his streak ends? This was a clause that, in storyline, the heel Vince Russo added to Bill's contract, and I don't know if you've noticed or not, but Vince Russo isn't on TV anymore. Why hasn't the babyface CEO helped his biggest babyface star by making his contract more balanced and fair? I'll tell you why, it's because WCW's utter dog shit right now. Goldberg says he's already beaten Luger twice, so that means he's gonna have to kill him at the Sin pay-per-view. Not sure if that's legal, Billy Boy, but both Lex and Bagwell are next and they better watch out, or something. Goldberg helps Norman do his feat, a really nice thing to do after almost breaking the guy's ribs with a spear. Well, it's time for Shane Douglas and Kronik versus the MIA. Please sir, may I have some more? I wasn't joking when I said Shane Douglas must have had pre-match promo time written into his contract. Even when he has absolutely nothing of interest to say, he still gets on the microphone, blobbering the most generic heel things you can imagine, such as making fun of the host city or poking fun at the fans. The people who came up with the term X-Pac Heat mustn't have been watching WCW in 2000 because this guy needs to fuck off pronto and free up some time for the young cats of the company, like Jeff Jarrett. Here comes Kronik, hired goons paid by Shane Douglas, and here comes the MIA, goons you can get for free. General Erection sizes up against Brian Adams, but he gets crushed with a big punch to the head. The General jumps over the top rope and he comes off the top turnbuckle with a clothesline, and here comes Corporal Cajun with a double axe handle from the top. This dirty little cheater has to hit a low blow after performing the splits. Poor behaviour right here from the Corporal, and Adams makes him pay with his full Nelson slam before tagging out. Here comes Brian Clark, who looks too big for a WCW ring. He delivers a gargoyle suplex that totally confuses Stevie Ray, but LaRue isn't going to stay down after this move. Instead, he performs a dropkick and a swinging neckbreaker, and if you thought this match was mediocre, it's about to get a whole lot more mediocre as Sergeant AWOL tags in. I suppose it's impressive seeing Brian Clark throw this guy around like he's nothing, but that kind of basic entertainment gets flushed down the toilet as Shane Douglas tags in for a rolling neck snap. AWOL performs a spinebuster, he then tags out and Hugh Morris tags in. We see a press slam from the General before the match breaks down, and so Morris and Douglas remain the legal men as everyone gets in the ring for a fight. After Clark performs the meltdown on Corporal Cajun, the guys go outside for a brawl. This gives General Rection the opportunity to pull off a body slam followed by the no laughing matter moonsault, but Clark saves the match for his team. AWOL and Clark head back outside. Adams hits Morris with a chair shot. This allows Shane to hit a franchiser, and the heels win the 6-man tag team match. After the bell, Shane Douglas attacks Morris with his little chain while Brian Adams isn't going to leave the ring before performing his wonky, dodgy piledriver. And after a commercial break, the General screams that he's not playing with the franchise anymore. You really should have had this mindset before heading into the match, big man. If I can be serious for a minute, Lance Storm has an important announcement to make. Before making that announcement, Lance rips into America once again for taking so long in deciding their new president. Time to get some new material, I think, Lance. He's been going on about this for weeks now. Lance says bad decisions are typical of America and bad decisions are typical of Jim Duggan. Jim Duggan sold his soul for a moment in the spotlight, he changed allegiances at the drop of a hat, he's now running home with his tail between his legs, and that fan in the front row fully agrees. Duggan has not went home yet though. He marches down the ring holding his 2x4 and he gets in Lance's face. Primetime's going to back his buddy up while Major Guns is going to stand in the corner looking all pretty. And Duggan leads a USA chant as he swings his 2x4 around while Skipper swings his Canadian flag. Jim's not going to win here, he needs backup. So here comes Mike Awesome and Jim confirms Awesome's on his side before going for the kill. Only, it's a swerve bro, it's a swerve. Mike Awesome attacks Duggan, Team Canada join in on the fun, and Major Guns continues to collect an easy paycheck by standing in the corner. Does this mean that 70s guy's now part of Team Canada? Well, yeah, it does. Mike Awesome shows off his Maple Leaf t-shirt, which makes Tony Schiavone legit wonder if Mike's Canadian too. For those unaware, Mike was not Canadian, though he was part of FMW's Team Canada, which, by the way, has absolutely no connection with the WCW Team Canada, bar the inclusion of Mike Awesome. Backstage, Mike says it's great to be out of his stupid 70s gimmick once and for all. He's going to call himself the Canadian Career Killer, which kinda sounds like he only wants to kill the careers of Canadians, but anyway, it's still an improvement over the 70s stuff, I think we can all agree. Mike also says Team Canada's fixing to explode all over the place. This is what happens when you're in close proximity to Major Guns. And Lance Storm says Duggan is now on his last chance. Hacksaw has one more chance to walk away or Mike Awesome's gonna rip his head off. Remember at the start of the show when Ric Flair did not name Scott Steiner's opponent for tonight? Well, it's Ernest the Cat Miller, meaning it wasn't announced earlier on out of fear of people not hanging around for the Thunder main event. It's not like this is a surprise that rewards people for watching the show. It's not like announcing the match earlier on would make viewers think they might see a title change. No, they didn't announce it because it's a terrible main event. A few fans try to get Scotty all worked up by chanting "We want Flair." Scott ignores them while sinking his boot into Miller's neck. Karate means absolutely nothing when Big Papa Pump's ripping your chest open with some pretty mean chops. And there's a Steiner line followed by an elbow drop. Clearly, Miss Jones doesn't qualify as a Scotty Steiner freak, and I thought she was flipping him off here for a moment. I think she's actually telling him he's got a small PP, so Scotty takes it out on Miller with a backbreaker. The domination continues with Big Papa Pump delivering a beatdown in the corner. This is one of the most one-sided main events I've ever seen in my life, and when Miller fights back in the opposite corner, I'm just not convinced that he can actually hurt the world champion. The crowd doesn't seem to care much either as Scotty gets kicked out of the ring, and this is a real problem when booking matches in this fashion. If this were the WWF and a mid-card guy, say, I don't know, Jeff Hardy was going up against WWF champion Kurt Angle, then there'd be a lot more hope and optimism for the underneath guy to pull off an upset, even though we all know it's not going to happen. In WCW, and in particular in this match, fans just don't care a single bit. Case in point, they're much more excited to see Madeja and Miss Jones go at it on the outside. Miller keeps the advantage briefly when the two get back in the ring. This, of course, doesn't last long as Steiner fires back with his belly-to-belly suplex. Just before Scott goes for the Steiner recliner, the Sin Mystery Man appears at the entranceway, and I've no idea what he's doing here. It's like he's tickling two invisible ball bags that are floating above his head. Will this distraction allow Miller to pull off the upset of the century? Of course not, you silly goose. Scott shows what it means to be a real champion by kicking out of the feeliner, and our match ends with a Northern Light suplex followed by the Steiner recliner. Scott dashes up the entranceway in hopes of catching the Mystery Man, but all those roids can really slow a man down. We'll have to wait for another 2 weeks to see what happens next, and I can't imagine it being all that entertaining. I do still believe that Thunder's format is much better than Nitro's, and dealing with an overall shorter runtime does make WCW's 2000 shows much more tolerable. However, this particular episode of Thunder was pretty dire. There wasn't a match here that I would say was even decent, and it's a stark reminder of the absolute state WCW was in during this time period. You don't expect classic matches on Thunder, you watch it to get a little extra dose of WCW before Nitro the following week. But it's shows like this that would actually turn you off watching Nitro because, well, nothing happened except for Mike Awesome joining Team Canada, and even that's quite stupid when you think about it. The good news though, we get to do it all over again next week, aren't you lucky? First of all though, we're going to get all Christmassy with Raw on Thursday, and then we'll watch Thunder while hungover on eggnog, Bucks Fizz, and a big fat dose of festive cheer. See you then, soldiers, and please take care.